everybody. Governor Walls here. My 79 International Harvester Scout and my 5-year-old Black Lab Boxer Scout. Uh, Everything works on here except one thing I'm still tinkering with, cruise control. So I'm going to show you how to fix that. At the same time, we talk about creating an opportunity economy so that everybody can get the opportunity to thrive. So come here, take a look at this. I'll show you how this thing works. It's fascinating how the cruise control works on these old vehicles. All right, here we go. 345 International motor, no computers, all analog. And this is the cruise control. This thing works on vacuum, pulls, and this is ingenious. This arm is just a chain that slides back and forth inside this arm. And when it's working, works within a couple miles per hour. If J.D. Vance, along with Donald Trump, get the opportunity, the folks getting the tax cuts are going to be the billionaires. They don't care about fixing the cruise control on a 79 International because they can buy whatever they want. Middle-class folks are the ones that need the tax cut. That's what a President Harris administration will do. Vice President Harris and I believe a lot of values, and one of the biggest value that we share together is when the middle class is strong, America's strong. This thing, old school carburetor, you can always tell something about somebody's maintenance when how clean their air filter is. Look, to be able to work on this thing, you got a manual. It shows you exactly what to do to fix things on this. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance have a manual too. It's called Project 2025, and it's a way to stick it to the middle class by giving tax cuts to the wealthiest, rigging our economy to make it more difficult for people. Look, they didn't give me a manual for this if you didn't plan on using it to fix your truck. They didn't create that Project 2025 just to have it set around as a doorstop. My pro tip of the day is silicone-based things around rubber. Best thing. You get the wrong material on this stuff dry rots out, and this is like really hard to find. So make stuff last, invest in it, just like you hear this administration under President Harris. Investing in the middle class will make a strong America in the long run. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you need to fix the analog cruise control on your 79 International, this is the place to come. And if you want to know what investing in the middle class in a strong America looks like, follow the Harris Walls campaign for more.
Wow, that was unique. I tell you, they call him Coach Walls, but that was pretty unique, wasn't it? Welcome to Let It Be Known. It's good to have you this morning. So much uh, going on over the weekend. By the way, anybody see the Northern Lights? Everybody's talking about that, and I'm like, I saw pictures. I didn't see it. I missed it. I saw pictures. Um, Several things this morning. And speaking of Harrison and Waltz, a question for voters, a conundrum, if you will. Can you trust someone who doesn't pay their bills? Can you trust them to lead the country? We're going to talk about that this morning. And also, we talked about this last week, and the verdict it's in. The former Dallas police officer Amber Geiger has been denied parole. We'll uh, talk about that as well. And a mother's pain, having already lost her two other children, the mother of Broadway dancer Zelig Williams is praying he's alive and returns home. The dancer went missing on October 3rd, and we're going to get into that case this morning. As well, it's the middle of the month, and it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And it should be noted that Black women are 6 times more likely to be killed in this country than white women. We're going to discuss, break down some domestic violence facts. Eh, First, of course, Warren G says it is Happy Monday, and he and his family safe, he says, from supporting, liking, or voting for a 34-time convicted felon who was found liable for sexual assault and convicted of fraud, massive business fraud. And Mike V noticed Roland Martin's interview this morning with the vice president, the Democratic nominee Kamala Harris. It is what's refreshing. About that, Mike, is you're right, it is refreshing. But what makes it refreshing, one of the things that makes it refreshing, Roland Martin is black owned, black operated. And it's the first time since she's hit the campaign trail, um, discounting discounting the blogs, I guess. Maybe you can and can't discount the blogs and podcasts, but basically, this is the first Black-owned news outlet that she has sat down with her campaign. Roland has done constant work on fighting misinformation and disinformation, and so and we know that the Harris campaign is uh, they finally have responded to Roland's constant uh, battle of against misinformation and disinformation, and doing a really great job at it too, and going after the likes of people like Megyn Kelly and others. And so he had a 30-minute interview. Of course, the Black Star Network, Roland's network, will be carrying that, I would imagine, for the most part all week, if not throughout the rest of the campaign. But he's been on the road. He's been doing the footwork, been doing the leg work before. Even before that, he was doing the other work, the meetings, the phone calls, the perpetual. Hey, y'all can't leave out the Black-owned media when it comes to um, interviews, when it comes to advertising. Recently, I mean, we brought the story. The vice president's campaign reached $1 billion, and Roland Martin, uh, he's a lot like Al Sharpton in that sense. He is not to be denied when it comes to, hey, you gotta spend some of that here, and so and he's earned it. It's not that, and they haven't given him anything. I don't think they've given him anything. I think he's earned it with his uh, constant, like I said, hard-hitting news reporting on the campaign, on and it's not that he goes all softy for her or Democrats. I think Roland calls out whoever he needs to call out, which is what a journalist's supposed to do. And when you lead a network, and he's not only the personality there, but that's his network. And when you lead it, you have to um, you have to be firm, and you have to get in these people's faces. Can't be It's no time to be passive. We are in different times, folks. No time to be passive. It's got to go for the gusto. And Roland does that. Does exactly that. Yeah. No, my picture is falling apart. She says, I'm not seeing it on my end, unfortunately. I wish I could see that. Um, Bobby Henry says, right on, Roland. Yeah, I mean, listen, the man, you got whatever you might think of Roland. Um, he's on point with his broadcast, and he's on point with this when it comes to doing business. And he's not to be denied, and that's the way we all have to be. I'm sorry, that's what we have to do. We have to black owned entities, and there's only a few. There's only a couple. We got to stand up and show that backbone that got us here, because it was backbone that got us here. Um, RNG says Jesse Jackson comes to mind. He made white folks spend money and hire black people. Yeah, and so when I think about, and not that this is totally the same, but I just so as for analogy's sake, when I think about Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, I think about Dr. King and Malcolm X. Um, you know, one nonviolent, push nonviolence, live nonviolence, and the other by any means necessary. And Jesse, he wasn't necessarily as that passive, and I'm not calling King passive, um, but he wasn't as aggressive I don't from what I've seen, as Al Sharpton has been. And so Roland Martin is probably the most aggressive of all of the black, owned, entities, including us, including the black press. So, you have to. You just have to. Yeah. Austin is saying Bobby Henry, R.E., Roland Martin, there goes that alpha man. Um, but you got to. You have to. We're now, only 3 weeks away from the election. Yeah, and you're right. King and Malcolm X were very much both effective, had different strategies, and that's the point, though. That's part of the point. Part of the point, anyway, is that one was just more aggressive than the other. And today, there is no time. There is no stomach for passiveness or for to sit and wait. You gotta come, and you gotta come, as they say, strong. Gotta come strong. Lord knows we were talking to someone at the White House, who said, "Look how Sharpton does it." I mean, implying that maybe y'all should be like Sharpton. So there you have it. And I don't want to. Mike V. He says my Knicks are looking good. You hear that, Power 96? Mike V says my Knicks are looking good. He said viewership is up and revenue is coming back. That's what I want to hear about. Let it be known. Viewership is up and revenue is coming. That's what I want to hear about us. Yeah, I'd trade the Knicks viewership and revenue in a heartbeat. Um, Bath and Body Works was forced to apologize. Now, come on. I've seen the comments, and there are some people who say, "Oh boy, not everything is what it seems. Not everything is racist in nature," and but this is absolutely abhorrent. The candle that shoppers say resembled a KKK hood was removed, and they apologize. Um, but that candle, if you've seen it, the snowflake, they call it the snowflake candle. The first impression is what really counts, right? And even those who say, "Oh, we don't think they did it on purpose," um, they admit that how could they have missed that? How could they have missed it? Looking like a KKK hood. Um, and it was first talked about on Reddit, and then of course on X, and there it is. And some people called it a clandle. It's like, come on. Um, they issued a statement saying that they apologized, that the intent was not there. But again, we see the results of not having representation. That's what that's about. No representation. I mean, unless the person sitting across the table was Byron Donalds or Tim Scott or Clarence Thomas, they had no black person there. I mean, come on, look at that. There's no black person in the decision making at Bath and Body Works. Um, that's just how it's. You couldn't have missed it. Come on, they knew what they were doing. Bobby Henry says it takes all of us, like we alluded to. He says, "Do you want to deal with Martin on the inside or Malcolm on the outside? We all have a role to play." Yeah. David Youngblood said butter biscuits. Yeah, we all have a role to play. Is right. It's exactly right. And there is no question um, that this team at Let It Be Known has been really, really out front with that. But this candle situation, again, we see over and over and over again the boldness now, the outright in your face racism has returned to the United States of America. And this excuse, we didn't mean to offend anybody. And they say the one of the worst apologies is when they say, if I have offended you. And speaking of the election, yeah, so here's something, folks. Um, before we get to, I gotta read Orange E's comment. He says, "I can't wait for Dr. King's holiday. All of the companies that have dismantled DE and I, their message will be um, downright hypocrisy." Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Bobby Henry said, "Return to it. It never left." Yeah, it never left. But what I'm alluding to, Bobby, is the fact that it has now become so in your face, so bold now. They have really, really thrown away the pretense. So here's a question. With all the questions, now I saw a poll. NBC had a poll that's out, came out yesterday. It's on their site today that the presidential race is neck and neck. We saw the uproar over former President Obama's comments and all of that. We talked about the $1 billion raised by the vice president's campaign. But here is a question. As Donald Trump continues his campaign, the pressing question, one of many pressing questions, but we're going to tackle this one question this morning. Can America trust a president who doesn't pay his bills? During his third rally last week in Erie, Pennsylvania, Trump left without paying again. Erie city officials are still tabulating the costs from the September rally that he had there, but he already owes the city over $40,000 for past visits, dating back to 2018. His financial footprint, though, extends well beyond Erie. Four other cities, El Paso, Texas, Spokane, Washington, Michelob County, Montana, and Mesa, Arizona, are waiting on a combined total of almost $1 million in unpaid costs for local law enforcement and public safety services tied to Trump rallies. As we said, these outstanding bills, they date back. We mentioned 2018, but they date back even further to 2016. And then on top of that, Trump brushed off those concerns about paying even workers who stayed overtime. He says, I wouldn't pay it. I wouldn't pay overtime. Voters got to consider that Trump has faced other financial and legal issues. We know about the criminal issues, right? He's filed for business bankruptcy, of course, at least four times. And he called that financially strategic. So part of his strategy is to go into bankruptcy. He's told you that. Pam says, "Well, I guess he will be filing bankruptcy again." Currently, we know that he's contesting a $464 million civil fraud judgment, and of course, the jury twice found him liable for sexual assault, and they ordered him to pay 100 million, almost $100 million in that case. He hasn't paid. We know he's been convicted on 34 felony charges and continues to await if he loses the election, he's gonna be facing at least 50 other criminal charges. And then they tried to pass the buck now. All of a sudden, his campaign is saying, well, you got to talk to the Secret Service. They coordinate all of this stuff. But a Secret Service spokesperson clarified that it's not our bill. Mesa City, Arizona spokesperson Anna Priera noted that the city felt obligated to ensure public safety even without a prior agreement with Trump's campaign. She expressed that taxpayers deserve to be compensated, and other city officials said the same thing. Um, Now, there are a couple of others who have unpaid campaign bills dating to 2016, Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. But those amounts, we're talking about, in one case, $15,000, in the other case, about $40,000. They are significantly smaller than the nearly $1 million that Trump owes and continues to rack up these bills. And this is what again, he says no overtime. He says, he said, I'd get other people in and I'm not going to pay it. I wouldn't pay it. You worked for me, but I'm not paying you because you stayed over and worked extra. Like me, 2 times impeached, 34 times convicted, deadbeat. And they put a lien on his Trump Force One as well. Trump Force One. What a narcissistic thing. I mean, come on, Trump Force. Mm, The force, I'll tell you what's with him, according to Bob Woodward, a whole lot of gas. Bob Woodward, he's this Pulitzer Prize journalist. He writes all these books. He says Trump is threatening to sue him. And so he's forced to tell about the Depends that Trump wears that continues to carry the smell. um, that's according to Bob Woodward. It's just amazing stuff, isn't it? Amazing stuff. And this guy, he went again continually on a racist rant all week, talking about folks in Africa, talking about Haitians. Um, it is the closer we get to the election, the more you are looking at this guy and just knowing that he is going to use the N word. It's getting ever so close. You could tell he's holding back, but he's going to use it because he's getting more and more frustrated. And the hate that he's displaying toward people of color is incredible. What makes it incredible is the election is so close and he's doing this. On the one hand, they arguing about if black folks are going to support him or what amount of black folks are going to support him. And on the other hand, it's him going full frontal racism on them. So I think at least it seems that he should be making the choice a lot easier for folks. And not to mention, again, there's no policy. The only policy is death for enemies. The only policy is enriching himself. Another report came out that this guy is like been cutting deals even still with foreign governments, enriching the Trump empire. These are the reports that keep coming out. Selling Bibles with his name that is made in China. It's pretty interesting. Not to mention the other stuff. These watches, he's asking 100 grand for Trump watches. I guarantee you some of his fanatics mortgage their houses to buy that watch. Then you see that a lost Trump interview from 1989 comes back to life. They say these lost interviews, but you don't have to go back to 1989 to see just the type of person this guy has shown himself to be. Yeah, Mike V, I don't see it either. Mike V says, I still don't see how he gets away with talking to these foreign entities and still not under investigation for this. You saw the thing where he sent Vladimir Putin all of the COVID tests when America couldn't find any. This guy, wow. You talk about diabolical. He'll bring back the alien. He's like, listen to this guy.
1998. Can you imagine? Those were the old days when they had tough politicians. I have to go back that long. Think of that, 1798. Oh, it's a powerful act. You couldn't pass something like that today. Today, we're politically correct. I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Can you imagine? Those were the old days.
1798. 1798. What is he saying, y'all? 1798. The Alien and Sedition Act. That is in response to the threat of war with France. The Federalist-controlled Congress passed 4 laws that restricted the rights of non-citizens and limited free speech. The Sedition Act made it illegal to publish false or malicious writing about the government. But he wants to go back to 1798. And as Thorne G says, 1798, and black celebrities that support him are quiet about that. Bobby Henry says the law of attraction applies to Trump and his supporters. They are all alike. Mike V says they should confiscate his properties in New York and put all the migrants there. But again, you heard Mr. Butter Biscuits, as they call Byron Donalds, romanticize about how great the family was during the Jim Crow oppression. They have explained to you in no uncertain terms who they are. So, folks, you could be mad all you want about well, the what has that side, what has the Democrats done for these people? What has Austin says we've been duly warned. If he wins, no one can claim he or she did not know. The problem is, and he mentioned celebrities, and I've said this before. The problem with these celebs is that they believe that, okay, well, if all that comes to pass, I'm good, I'm rich, I'm famous. Folks, I think Taraji P. Henson gave y'all a wake-up call about that. She, she told you that it meant you guys too. You heard that saying, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Well, y'all got a whole lot more to lose than the average Joe. Your mansions and yachts and you got all this money. Power 96 got his under the mattress, we know. But you got all this money in these banks. Remember, I would really encourage you guys, you multi-millionaire, billionaire, black celebrities, to look at the rules of the FDIC. Look at the rules of the FDIC, and I mean the fine print, because this man just told you about this 1798. There's other things they could do in 1798 that he's gonna try and implement if he's back. And um 17, believe me, they they didn't want you owning property or anything, but to look at the rules of the FDIC. The FDIC says they will insure your money up to a certain amount. What is it, $250,000 or whatever it is? But the fine print says that $250,000, based on the shape of the government, the conditions, and no doubt the direction of either Congress or the president or both, they can determine how to disperse that money to you. 250,000 is the most. So these people, they got millions in the bank. So they lose all of that except for 250,000, right? The 250,000 can be dispersed in increments as little as $1 a year. Look at the fine print. Think about that. Think about it. Former Dallas police officer Amber Geiger has been denied parole 6 years after she murdered Botham Jean. And Allison Jean, Botham's mother, says she's breathing a sigh of relief. She says, "My family feels a sense of relief having gone through the process and made a strong petition for denial. So news coming in that the board considered our petition is a sense of elation, a sense of relief." She was up for parole. And here's the thing. Botham's mom said that the parole date was her son's 30, would have been her son's 33rd birthday. They only gave her 10 years, and I say only because it was a murder. And the mother pointed out that it was a murder of an innocent man in the comfort of his home doing nothing wrong. Of course, you remember she told police that at the time she confused Botham's apartment with her own. And of course, her body-worn camera was not recording during the shooting because she was off duty. Uh, She appealed her conviction and lost her appeal 2 years ago. But 10 years. She got 10 years for cold-blooded murder. And she wanted to get out. And she would, if they would have granted her uh, petition, she would have walked out of prison yesterday. Yep, she will be RNG up for parole again next year, and she will be released after serving 8.5 years, regardless of what the parole board says. And I still, I still believe that there's a lot more in that story. There was some sort of history between her and Botham Jean, which led her to do what she did. Somehow, she targeted him for some reason, and she came up with this ruse, and which she thought, I mean, look, what she knew what she had going on her side. The fact that she's law enforcement, she got all this privilege. She's, look at that blonde. She intended to use all that privilege. There's no question about it. Orange G says, "I blame the judge. Amber should be serving life in prison without the possibility of parole." And this had to have been premeditated, obviously. And premeditated murder generally comes with a much, much, much harsher sentence. 10 years. Judge, didn't the judge pray with her too? Kind of nonsense is that? Nonsense. We talk about Botham's brother hugging her and talking about he forgives her, but what about the judge praying with her? It's oh man, some of this stuff, it really the laughter is not because it's funny, not in a ha ha way, not in a Saturday Night Live way. It's just it's a woo. Yeah, exactly. Oh gosh. An urgent search is underway for a Broadway dancer who vanished in Columbia, South Carolina. Zelig, Zelig Williams, who's 28 years old, was last seen leaving the home he shares with his mother on the morning of October 3rd. The Richland County Sheriff's Department said they have no trace of him since October 3rd. His mother's pleading with him, "Please come home." She says, "I want you home with me." She's lost her other two children, and you could just imagine what she is going through right now. Zelig, his friend in New York, said she received an SOS cell phone alert from his phone indicating a car crash on October 3rd. He was spotted driving in the area of Congaree National Park, about 17 miles outside of Columbia, according to the sheriff's office. And his car was later found in a parking lot near the park with no signs of a crash. Um, his cousin said they searched the area near where the car was found, and they haven't been able to locate any other trace of him. His cousin said that authorities and community members walked the trails with them and searched using ATVs and drones, and there's been no sign of him. Zelig Williams recently performed in productions of Hamilton, MJ the Musical, and Hugh Jackman's 2019 tour of The Man, the music, the show. Um, Hugh Jackman has gotten into the act as well. He's asking anyone with information to contact the police. He put on social media that we love you and are praying for your safe return. Um, his mother said her son is her only child left. As we noted, her two daughters died in an accident some time ago. And his mother said that he became a dancer because of his sisters. She said he loved dance because he said he feels his sisters are near him. And now she says it's just uh, me and him, so I want him home. The sheriff's office is urging anyone with information to call 803-576-3000 or contact Crime Stoppers at Crime SC or crimesc.com or 803-576-3000. So we certainly hope for the best in this situation. Um, Sad situation there. This young dancer, Mike V says that I'm curious to know if they have ping the cell phone or use. Uh, gee, I can't read that word, Mike, but footprint in their search. Some yeah, it is something with my board here that okay. Yeah, I can't see. But anyway, um, this guy is just 28 years old, this young man, and his mother is heart sick right now. So anybody with any information, reach out to the Columbia authorities there down south, Crime Stoppers, Or again, that number is 803-576-3000. It is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And um, the statistics are alarming, to say the least. An average of 24 people every minute become victims of domestic violence at the hands of an intimate partner in America. That figure comes from the National Domestic Violence Hotline. And the Institute of Women's Policy Research shows that around 31% of all women will experience domestic violence. For Black women, that is more than 40%. Um, Now, researchers say several factors can contribute to the stat. For example, research shows Black women are less likely to turn in their abusive partner to law enforcement. Also, most experts say the effect of systemic racism has played a big role in domestic violence as well. Further, domestic violence is more than just physical abuse at the hands of a partner. The Department of Justice lists different forms of domestic violence. The DOJ cites intimidation, manipulation, humiliation, isolation, and attempts to frighten, terrorize, coerce, threaten, blame, hurt, injure, or wound someone as forms of abuse. According to a recent Black Enterprise report, over half of all Black women have experienced non physical domestic violence. According to the National Center for Victims of Crime, 53.8% of Black women had experienced psychological abuse, while 41.2% of Black women had experienced physical abuse. The Blackburn Center also attempts to get to the root causes of the elevated harm inflicted on Black women. The organization lists objectification and degradation of women in media, rape culture, harmful gender norms, the pay gap, and racism as causes for increased harm. The objectification of Black women is a tale as old as time, they said. And the tale is still being told as terms that predate emancipation, such as bedwench, are still being used to describe women. The use of that term and many others in the modern day only reinforces that to some, Black women are seen as less than human. Objects or toys are to be used at the discretion of others. And like children, many do not consider using, abusing, and breaking a toy a bad thing. The Blackburn Center proposed solutions for these causes, first acknowledging intersectionality, paying attention to vulnerable intersections of Black women, and working toward creating equity in their pay, depictions, and status would help dispel the notion that they are expendable. Folks, if you know any current or former victims of domestic violence in need of support, you can reach out to the Blackburn Center at 1-888-832-2272. That's 888-832-2272. You can also go to the www.thehotline.org, where there's a 24-hour live chat available, or you can call 1-800-799-SAFE, SAFE, or text START to 88788. Um, but this domestic violence is a big, big issue, particularly in the Black community. And a little side note on that, I follow D. Barnes. Many may remember the journalist D. Barnes, who was brutally beaten years ago by Dr. Dre. And Dr. Dre is currently in a battle with his former psychiatrist or psychologist who helped, who was helping he and his now ex-wife through their divorce. And Dr. Dre allegedly has been intimidating, going to in and around the psychiatrist's house, intimidating he and his kids, saying that the psychiatrist or psychologist, I'm not sure which one is he, but the therapist, I say therapist, sided with his ex-wife. Now, mind you, that divorce was now several years old now, and the psychiatrist or the therapist has gotten a restraining order against Dre. Well, it wasn't lost on Dee Barnes that she was not able to get a restraining order against Dr. Dre, despite the brutal, brutal beating he administered to her in a public place with other folks around watching, witnessing. And she retweeted those reports of the therapist getting a restraining order. And again, it's not lost on Dee Barnes that is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. But you hate to see it, but again, it's unfortunate that this is a black man we're talking about. But folks, this man is. Could you imagine how this black woman is feeling every single time she looks up and they're celebrating this man who, for all intent and purposes, could have killed her. And in her mind, I'm pretty sure she probably believes he tried to kill her. I know it's unpopular in certain circles to talk about this, and it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and she was a victim. And they have these hotlines, thehotline.org, hotline.org. You can text START to 88788, or you can call 1-800-799-SAFE. And if you don't want to do any of that, you can go on thehotline.org, and there is somebody available 24 hours to chat online. Yeah, hit the like button. Orange E says Dr. Dre thinks he is above the law. He gave all that money to USC. He is about to find out. Mr. Charlie is about to take all his money. Mr. Charlie. But it's a very serious issue. And there are too many victims, black and white, but certainly and in other ethnicities and races, but certainly black women bear the brunt of it. They are the ones who are um, has all the stats. You can go to CDC, Black Burn Center. You can go to the National Domestic Violence website, and they all have the same information as far as black women are concerned, that they, more than anyone else, are victims. And again, uh, some of the solutions are there: uh, equity in pay, depictions and status, and um, this objectifying um, has to stop, because it according to the experts who track this stuff, that is one of the things that ultimately leads to domestic violence. So when you got somebody just, oh girl, you hot, you this, you that, you all that, constantly, he may very well one day turn out to be your abuser. And we know that it's you go on, especially on X, Twitter, and you can't you can't control what's on your feed anymore. And so somebody throwing stuff in your face constantly. Elon Musk has destroyed Twitter. And so you see everything that you didn't sign up for. And the objectification of women in general is rampant on Twitter. And folks will say, well, some of these women do it themselves too. Listen, women are more free with their body. They're more comfortable, I guess, nowadays than they've been in the past of showing what they got. It still is not an invitation to abuse, no matter what. I don't think any sane woman wants to be beaten and battered. So, folks, it is again Domestic Violence um, Awareness Month. So, and it shouldn't be the only time you think about this, though. It shouldn't be. We all have to do better, right? Even reporting these things, we all have to do better. It have to be. We have to be more uh, intentional on how we go about this, and not just waiting to October of every year to talk about domestic violence. So let's make sure that we do that. And again, those numbers, the Black Burn Center is 888-832-2272. Live chat at thehotline.org. You can also call 800-799-SAFE or text the word START to 88788. And if you know of someone, direct them there. And we will continue to talk about this on Let It Be Known. Oh, and Bobby Henry is asking, do Trump supporters know what they are supporting? And the answer is an astounding yes, Bobby. It is astounding yes. And I think that's part of why you got folks when President Obama made his comments to black men, you have folks lashing out a bit at him because folks feel not enough attention is given to the fact that white women support that as well. And many of them has been found that they go to the ballot box and they click on Trump's name despite the fact that he's not in their best interest. And so they have to be called out, is what people say. Why don't you call them out? Don't put the onus just on black men, is what folks say. Folks are saying. Now, white men are a different story for the most part. I mean, there are a number who are now supporting the vice president or who's not supporting the former president, Trump. But they're in lockstep. But I think that it's a fair point to say, with the same vigor that Obama urged black men, went after them, is that same vigor that they should be doing with particularly the demographic of white women. Because sometimes you have to shame someone into doing what they're uncomfortable doing, even though it might be the right thing. So we'll see over the next few weeks. Folks, again, subscribe to our YouTube page and share it with others. and we appreciate you as always. Thanks for watching Let It Be Known, and we will see you again tomorrow.